IX web hosting, just go over a couple of the basic settings in the control panel to get you started going using that as a new web host or a web server for web host or for iWeb instead of MobileMe now that MobileMe is gone. You should receive an email that looks similar to this when you sign up for an account. I signed up back on June 24th of 2008, so I've been with them for a while. I've blurred out my information for obvious reasons, but right in the email you'll get access to the control panel, which is a link that you click on to log in. Your email address will be your login name or your username, whatever, and then you'll also have the password that'll be in that. So I'm going to go ahead and go to IX web hosting now. Maybe my QuickTime's in my way. And I do have it bookmarked. Oh, there it is. So I already have mine auto-filled in as far as how to log into my account. So I'm going to click Login. And here, if you have any domains that you registered with IX web hosting, that's where these will be managed. But for right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to manage my account. So I'm going to click on Manage right here. And this is what's known as the control panel. Now in the control panel, you have domains, which is your address, like IX web hosting is the domain for this site. I have several domains and multiple dedicated IP addresses. Now the ones that are shared are actually sharing an IP, and then I have a couple that are on their own. And that kind of depends on which plan you choose on how many dedicated IP addresses that you have. But this is where you would get in and you would manage any of those. Like if I click on jeffnitschke.com, which is my main site, this is where you could go in and change any of the information. If you wanted to add a subdomain, say mobile.jeffnitschke.com or m.jeffnitschke.com, that's where you would do something like that. Now I personally am not using any of those features. The name servers, if you have your domain name at, say, GoDaddy or something or rather, this is what you would plug into GoDaddy. So GoDaddy would point www.yourdomain.com at IX web hosting on your server, which is how I have that set up. I have my domain names, jeffnitschke.com, at GoDaddy, but I use IX web hosting for web hosting. FTP, you'll want to turn on, which I have on here. You just click, if it's not on, it will have an off button and you just click on. I'm going to go back to Home, which takes me back to the control panel. Web options, once again I'm going to click on Jeff Nitschke. If you want to change from a shared IP address to a dedicated IP address, you could do this, but it could make your website go offline for a period of time, up to 48 hours. I'm not using Site Studio, but Site Studio is kind of like the built-in web templates to where you could build a website just using the control panel. Different features. It just kind of looks old and dated to me, but if you wanted to play around with some of those Site Studio templates and whatnot, you could. You would just simply click the off button, turn it on, and then walk through some of those steps. And maybe in a later video I might go ahead and do that on a different domain just to walk through how that works. I haven't changed anything in this at all, just because I didn't have to. Oh, I didn't mean to log out, so I'm going to log back in. Okay. Account settings. This shows the type of account that you are. You can upgrade, downgrade. It's really easy with IX web hosting. You just click the upgrade and it will tell you the difference in price, or if you downgrade, they'll actually refund you the money depending on how much time that you have left on your account. FTP login and password. This is the FTP login name, so what you would plug into an FTP client like CyberDuck. And then the password. If you set up a password, you just type in your password, and then you retype it in. It will tell you whether or not it'll go from an apostrophe or an exclamation mark to a good sign or whatever. And then you would click submit, and it would change your password for you. Pretty simple. FTP Manager. This tells you, once again, the group that it is. Now, if you have multiple domains, like I do, actually, let me open up CyberDuck. CyberDuck is what I use to upload. It's my FTP client. And that's somebody else's that I'm working on. So this is my IX web hosting. Continue. And here's Blueplane, Charles Nitschke, Jeff Nitschke, Orange Soul, Crown Pacific, Victory Homes Direct, Woodhead Properties, so on and so forth. But if I come back here to the bookmarks, if I edit this bookmark, this is how you would set up a new deal. Now, nickname, it automatically filled this in, but for server, this web311ixwebhosting.com, I got that from right here as the host name. If I come back over here, and then I plugged in my username, which allows me to log into it, and then when I actually connected is when it asked me for my password, and then it accepted password, and then you can choose to save that so you don't have to enter it every time. But other than that, I mean, I left port 21 the same, and path is just the backslash, so it shows me all my domain names. But if I wanted to go to a specific domain name, I think I could just have the backslash and then like jeffnitschke.com, and it would take me to just that one account. So I can quit out of CyberDuck. And then here you can add another FTP account if you wanted to add, say, your wife or a sister or a brother or a friend or a coworker or whatever, so they could actually log in to the FTP account and do stuff as well. The nice thing about IX web hosting is if you have multiple websites, you can host them all on one account. You don't have to have a separate account for each website. So if you have a construction website and your wife wants to do a hobby website or a family website or whatever the case is, you want a website for your kids, it can all be done from one account, which is really nice. You don't have to have multiple accounts. FTP Manager was where it just was. FTP Service allows you to turn on FTP, which I have disabled on some of these accounts just because I'm not using them as their own. I log into my master and it will give me all of them instead of just one-off. Site Studio is where you could actually build a website. If I click launch here, that should open that up. And basically you should have some templates, add page, order pages, site settings. And I actually haven't put anything in here, but I mean, it's pretty basic on what you can do here. But I mean, if you didn't want to use iWeb or anything else, I mean, you could just build something directly from here. So that is what that is. So that's Site Builder. File Manager shows you the files on your server. So if I click jeffnitschke.com, this will show me all the files that I have on that particular one. I have quite a few, to where you could go in, you could edit, download, delete directly from here if you wanted to, or you could upload files. as well. Site stats, I use Google Analytics on my site, but you can use the site stats here. And for instance, if I use my site, this will give me an overview of page counts and whatnot to my website. This is a summary for the month, and this is total kilobytes, total visits, total pages, total files, and total hits. I really like Google Analytics a lot better because it will tell you where the people came from, what they were looking at, instead of just this number. Now the main things that I use is domain when I turn on a new domain, and email. And all this other stuff, oh, there's one other thing, which would be Easy Apps. And that's where you can add a different blogs. I use WordPress, and then they have some different forums and whatnot that you set up. But the great thing about these Easy Apps collections is you just click on WordPress, and it will ask you if you want to install it. You just click Install, and it will ask you which website you want to install that on. So you just pick whichever website you want to install that on. You can change it from WordPress to My Blog or Blog or whatever, but you need that backslash there. Your username, you would type in your username, and then a password, and then an email address. Click Agree and Submit, and it sets it up for you. And then you can just log into WordPress and then go from there. So you don't have to download and install and upload. It just works. And then the other thing that I use is email. So you would pick whichever account. I'm going to pick Jeff Nitschke, for instance, and go. This gives you your incoming email address or mail server, your outgoing mail server, which are the two things that you need to plug into Mail to set up, or Mail on your iPhone to set up. iPhone, iPod, whatever, to set up your email address. I would guess that it works similarly on BlackBerry or any of these other Android phones. And then this shows me my accounts, and I can log on to a web email box that will show me my email on the web. But to set up an email account, that mail.jeffnitschke, if I came into Mail, and in Preferences, Accounts, I could add a new email address. That'd be Jeff Nitschke. I would type in my password. And after you type in your password, simply click Continue. Description of your account, I would just say something like my site. You can name that whatever you want. The incoming mail server would be mail.yourdomain. In my case, it's Jeff Nitschke. And then it would be your name at your domain, and then your password. But your username would be your entire email address. And then you click Continue, and then it would walk through the steps and go ahead and set that up. So I'm going to cancel because I don't need to set up a new email address. And that's setting up email, which is really simple, and you can add as many. You have unlimited email addresses, so I mean you could have one for everybody in your family or kids, or different accounts. If you wanted one specifically for online shopping or whatever, you could separate it out that way. And that's basically what I use on my website. I haven't played around a whole lot with a whole lot of other things, just the basics, just because I don't do a whole lot in the other. If you have any questions, feel free to drop me an email, and I'll do my best to answer any of those questions for you. Once again, thanks for watching, and hopefully I'd like to see some of those iWebsites.